Delighted to have the opportunity to welcome all of you here. It's a big crowd, and this is our first Polyposis Education Night. I want to run a little bit through the program and tell you what we're going to do. Not to tell you exactly what we're going to say yet, but to tell you what we're going to try to do. And introduce the various speakers. I am going to moderate this session as well, and I'm going to give a small talk. Steve Gallinger, my very good colleague, was supposed to do the moderating tonight, but he unfortunately could not be here due to personal reasons at the very last minute. However, we will carry on without him, and I hope you enjoy the program. Some important announcements. We're going to try to keep the talks to 12 to 15 minutes. Hopefully we can do that, and leave time at the end for questions and hopefully for answers that you are looking for. You all have registered and you all have evaluation forms. The evaluation forms are very, very important for us because they will help us to plan future meetings. So please fill them out. Even if you have to leave a little bit early, please fill them out and leave them on the desk for us. This, as I mentioned, is our first Polyposis Education Night. It's definitely not going to be our last Polyposis Education Night. I would be remiss if I didn't start out by thanking our genetic counselors, who are a fabulous group of people. The people that are mainly responsible for the agenda tonight are Laura Winter and Kara Samotiak, and I'd ask you to both to stand, please, and a little round of applause for them. Our other genetic counselors, it's not as if they do nothing. They do everything, all of them. And Melissa Aronson's Springholter in the back, on the side, I should say. Thank you very much for being who you are and helping us with everything to do with genetics and research projects in our familial gastrointestinal registry. So I'm going to start the program by introducing Terry Burke. Well, I think that sort of says it all. What can I say about Terry, who was the former clinical coordinator until she retired, of the Polyposis Registry until she retired a couple of years ago? We are very close to one another because Terry actually started in the Polyposis Registry. You're not going to believe this, but I'm going to tell you anyways. In 1979, Terry is a teacher from Montreal. She was also my assistant in our surgical office for a very short period of time. And then she became very quickly the clinical coordinator for the Polyposis Registry. And she became Miss Polyposis around the world. That's very apt, and it happens to be very true. The reputation that she actually made for herself and for us is and was phenomenal. And I don't think that we can actually thank her enough. Took a little prodding to get her here tonight, but I have to also tell you that once we sent out that second email blast that Terry was going to be present, it spiked up this this response tremendously. And by the applause that you have given her tonight, unsolicited, I think that it really shows what she has meant and how she has touched so many people in this particular area. So I am absolutely delighted to see you here, Terry. I haven't seen you for a while. And she is going to give us a talk without slides on the history of the Polyposis registry. I should also mention that during her time she became a social worker, so she was able to handle and give advice to so many people and such personal advice on varying topics. So we welcome you here, and we're delighted to have you here, as you know. So please come up and give your few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Cohen, for those heartfelt words. It's fabulous to look out into the audience and see so many familiar faces. It's really heartwarming. And I must say, it's a privilege for me to share in this beautiful legacy to Erica from her family. I remember the flash mob that was organized by people who loved Erica. And for me, it represented a link in an unbreakable chain, which was forged back in 1980. And that chain remains strong, and it's strong because of your family stories. It is these stories which connect you to loved ones, to the past, and to each other. 35 years ago, healthcare in Canada focused on acute care. No one was keen to fund research for cancer prevention. Canadians were unfamiliar with the idea of developing a family tree for hereditary disease within the context of a family study center or a genetic register. We were often confused in those days with a clinic, which treats a single person as a patient. But for us, the family has always been a long-term focus, and in essence, is the patient. So in the 80s, there was a serious lack of information about a disease affecting 1 in 10,000 people. And certainly no Google and no Ancestry.com to connect with. So our goal was to change that story through early diagnosis and treatment, especially for children. They often are the ones struggling with why me questions. Illness does not just affect the body, and it's normal to want to have an answer for why disease happens. I think that for all of us, our need to understand and to make sense of our world is what makes us human. Who can easily accept that FAP is caused by a random genetic accident? So we may turn to our inner fears as a way to understand what seems to be irrational. We firmly believe that the registry would allow us to share knowledge and education to empower families. A library was established with resources in the form of an annotated family guide, which was translated. We had laybooks and journals, audio tapes and videos, which were later replaced by CDs and DVDs, and now, of course, the website. And I hope all of you make use of that website because it's a fabulous tool. The registry model that we chose came from the only hospital in the world to offer care exclusively for bowel disease. And it's called St. Mark's Hospital in England. They opened the doors in 1922, and it was 42 years after FEP was recognized as a disease. Before registries, 2/3 of the people who walked through the door already had cancer and did not survive. The registry mission was to beat back those odds through a rigorous surveillance program. To find the best fit, I was very fortunate to be able to visit registries at St. Mark's Hospital, Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic, Memorial Sloan Kettering, and the largest register at that time, University Hospital in Tokyo. It was fascinating that the Japanese government believed so strongly in cancer prevention, that there was a legal mandate to keep track of patients who moved. And for us, one of the most difficult challenges in a registry is to maintain contact with families over time to ensure that ongoing care is available. We began as a trio. Dr. Cohen was our pioneer. Dr. Jim Cullen was our pathologist, someone you never saw, but who was actually responsible for your diagnosis. You'd be surprised how many patients have been mistakenly diagnosed because they relied on biopsies instead of x-rays. There were 6 families in the beginning, all from Ontario. We wanted to inform the healthcare community about our service, and so, with a hospital grant, I visited innumerable local and provincial hospitals, addressed many ostomy chapters, and wrote articles for different medical journals. As word spread, it became clear that there was no similar service nationally, but it made no sense to offer assistance to someone in Toronto and not to do the same for relatives in Saskatoon or St. John's. So we worked with local care providers, including different children's aid societies, to ensure that no child would be denied knowledge of genetic risk. Adoptive parents were brought into the loop through the registry umbrella. We also made home visits to ease some of the anxiety that we know is associated with discussing family history. Before the gene was identified in 1991, parents could only wait anxiously each time their child went in for a scope. Time spent together in an endoscopy or surgical waiting room was precious. We made a point of remaining in the endoscopy unit to offer a friendly face and feedback to patients and their families. Parents were in a sort of genetic limbo, without really knowing enough about the risk for their child. Some moms would share painful memories of being told by a doctor not to conceive, without allowing them to fully understand about their chances to have an affected child. This often added to their guilt, particularly if they found out they had FAP after their children were born. No one should be placed in such a position of judgment. Guilt, or blame, or fear are emotions which can paralyze us. They create a black hole for our energy, and they destroy hope. We were determined to reverse that process through supportive care. Children are our most precious resource, and they're often forced to face issues their peers have no clue about. Bowel preps, pain, scars, even black humor related to the bowel. Throw in the challenges of moving from adolescence to teens to adulthood, and it can wreak havoc with their world. So we started a buddy system to ensure that children did not have to go through that experience alone. Parents could also connect with other parents. Sometimes we'd forget about the unaffected spouse watching from the sidelines, who may also be suffering and feel helpless. Or what about an unaffected sibling or child? We may not remember how much a family dynamic may shift during periods of crisis when a child, or actually anyone in the family, is ill. How people see themselves in relation to their disease and how they cope changes as they grow. A dad will have a different perspective than his son or daughter. Different generations, different coping strategies. How could we find those in need of extra support, and how could we do that early on in the process? Dr. Mary Jane Esplin, whom many of you may know, set out to do just that, and she developed 2 measures for self-concept, one for adolescents and teens, and the other for adults. These measures are being used now in registries all over the world. I'm very proud that we're a founding member of the 2 global organizations representing FAP. We acted as a mentor to so many new registries and watched as the network expanded through Europe, across the Americas, into Asia and the Far East. Today, the registry team is huge. It involves specialists from surgery, medicine, pathology, genetics, and psychology. From 1985 on, we presented our research to many international meetings for FAP and shared our findings with colleagues dedicated to improving the quality of life for affected families. I truly hope that your presence here tonight is an affirmation that the change that was begun in 1980 will endure for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, and I'm sure everybody appreciated those words of wisdom. The next speakers are Laura Winter and Kara Samotiak, and they are going to get into the genetics of familial polyposis. And as I introduced them before, they are both two of our 4 genetic counselors. And I think that, who's going to start? Laura's going to start. So come up here and explain to this audience the genetics of familial polyposis. And I am sure that you will appreciate this talk as a talk that you will understand and hopefully be able to take away with you and ask questions during the question and answer period.